Welcome back to Pause to Unedit Yourself, a podcast where reflection meets transformation, where we explore the art of becoming one intentional pause at a time. I'm your host, Anushka, and each episode offers you a chance to press pause and explore bite sized insights and soulful reflections from my own journey of introspection in the hope it will help you too on your path of personal evolution. Whether you're feeling stuck, seeking clarity, or simply wanting to expand, my hope is that this becomes a space of inspiration and deep remembering, guiding you to evolve from within and uncover the infinite potential that lives inside each and every one of you. Your time is so valuable. It's the most precious commodity. So I want to thank each one of you for being here and sharing this space with me. And thank you for pressing pause and choosing to journey inward and daring to become the highest expression of yourself. Firstly, I'm excited to announce that I have finally figured out how to publish my episodes onto YouTube, and it did take me a minute. So those are all up now. I was having to do that manually before. If you prefer listening on YouTube, they're all there. So the topic I want to explore today is flow. So we hear the words flow and flow state everywhere now, but in reality, what is flow? Is it something that we do? Is it something that we achieve? Or is it something we remember how to return to? Where is that place where energy moves effortlessly through you? I think we've all had periods where you feel so in sync with life itself, where nothing feels forced and everything feels so strangely in tune, timed, perfectly timed. And if this flow is real, and then how do we create a life that lives there more often, that's so effortless, that's so in alignment? And this is something that I've really started to explore on my journey. So let me start by asking you, have you ever noticed that feeling when everything you are doing is taking your energy instead of filling you up? It's completely, utterly draining you. Everything that you are doing just feels heavy. You feel like you just don't want to be there because at the end of the day, where your attention goes is where your energy goes. And to be honest, that feeling of heaviness, that feeling of feeling drained is usually my first sign when I know that something's amiss and that um, I'm not flowing. And to be honest, the last couple of weeks, especially this week, I've really felt out of alignment. And how I know this is because my thoughts have been scattered. And, it's despite all my efforts to stay grounded, using my tools and, trying to stay balanced, I really felt out of sorts, out of sync. And yes, I have been dealing with a lot of things and my mind, trying to process a lot of things. And even when I sat down to meditate the last few days, I really struggled to find my center, and my breathing has been shallow. And I was feeling quite agitated and anxious. And that's when I know that I'm out of sync. When I'm aligned, and I know when I'm aligned because I've had periods of my life when life really flows easily and literally the synchronicities appear. And I feel like that I'm being carried by the current rather than swimming against it. And When I'm in that state of flow, I feel that I can channel all of my gifts. Everything comes through me effortlessly. It comes through from presence. And when I'm in that state of flow, I'm not pushing my life forward. It's just carrying through. And it really does feel that life is moving through me rather than against me. And when I'm not, yeah, everything feels heavier. And that's when I feel distant from that place. I've been trying to declutter and create more space, trying to work with what felt aligned. And actually, just today, when I've sat down to record this podcast, everything started to shift for me. And honestly, it doesn't feel like work. I felt my energy change, and I felt myself more alive because I feel things are flowing through me. And, time disappears. I'm not moving through life, life is moving through me. And that's when I've learned that when something is right for you, it doesn't just fit into your life, actually fuels you. And that alignment, it doesn't feel like effort, it feels like energy. So when something is right for you, it doesn't just fit into your life, it's energizing, it's effortless. And when you're in alignment with the universe, life doesn't feel like this uphill battle. It feels like play. And every moment becomes an expression of your true self. So you might be wondering, so why do we fall out of flow? Why do we lose that state that drives us forward? And what this experience has taught me is that I've noticed that it actually comes down to things: distraction, distress, and disconnection. So let me explore this. When we are distracted, we become so fixated on what society deems to be successful, the goals, the material gains, or the expectations that don't genuinely resonate with our soul's desires, goals, timelines, and identities, that don't actually match our inner truth. And when we are in distress, what happens is that we get trapped in the past or anxious about the future. And so we start replaying or projecting, losing our grounding in the present moment, which is, in fact, the only place where flow exists, in the present moment, in the eternal now. And disconnection is when we slip back into those reactive patterns, which allows the ego to guide us instead of our inner wisdom. And so what happens is that slowly, almost quietly, we fall out of sync with ourselves. And so the question becomes is then how do we shift from life happening to us to life moving through? There's a quote that stayed with me for many years, and it's by Shams Tabrizi. And it says, "Don't go with the flow, be the flow." And I'm sure that you've heard this quote. And I really struggled with this for a long time. Why? Well, because we can only expand to the level of the volume of the container of our belief system. What do I mean by this? Is if we live in a cage of our beliefs, how can we ever think differently? Where is the room to grow, to evolve, if our world that we have created for ourselves is so finite? And we need to shift this consciousness to be able to grow. We have to shift those beliefs. And how do we do that? Well, we have to go from life is happening to me and start questioning things like, why is this happening to me? And those questions may sound like, and think about it, How many of the times you've gone through and said, "Oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why does this keep repeating all the time? What am I doing?" But something shifts when we become more conscious, through all of that inner work, which I've explored on previous episodes, through actually sitting with that discomfort, through sitting with what triggers us and realizing that those triggers are mirrors. And slowly but surely, a belief then changes to life is happening by me. My inner world is shaping my outer reality. And then something shifts. Life's journey, it tests our patience. It's teaching us what is meant for us to unfold in its own time. And I mentioned this to my niece actually this week who's studying her exams. And I said to us, look, life is an ongoing test. This is just one of the tests that you're going to be faced with. It's not the be all, it's not the end all. And your exams don't define you. It's just a learning, it's just a process. And when we release what we can't control and focus on what we can influence, when we surrender to the universe to work its magic, that's when you realize you're not here to control the flow, but to move with it. And when you start learning to embrace reality as it is, when you start letting go of attachment to outcomes, and when you start seeing each adversity as opportunity, this is that shift in that mindset. It's a deep process of changing those beliefs, and that's where the flow deepens again, and we start landing in this truth that actually life is happening through me. And as your consciousness expands, you realize that you are here to learn how to love and how to be loved, to actually live in a constant state of flow and love, which is ultimately the essence of who you are. And that's when we arrive at something even deeper. That's when you start becoming the highest expression of yourself that I keep talking about. And then that shift in belief happens. It's life is happening as me. This is when flow starts to become really natural. Because what I've realized is flow isn't something that you enter. It's not something it is who you are when nothing is forced. Because if you think about it, forcing connection is when you're forcing alignment. And if you're forcing alignment, you are forcing attachment. And so the less attached you are to forcing outcomes and the more open that you are, that is when that state of flow becomes natural and you become more in sync with life. You become more in sync with your own intuition. Because where does attachment come from? Well, it's ego. Ego seeks that attachment. I think what you have to remember is that what is actually meant for you, it will feel natural, it will feel peaceful, it will feel connected. It won't feel forced or chaotic and attached. And that's how you know when something is for you. So, what is flow really? Let's try and name it. So, if we think about the past, well, that's just a memory happening now, right? And the future, well, that is also just a projection of what is happening now. Flow, it only lives here and now. I think flow is where discipline meets surrender, where that moment where time dissolves, where your gifts channel freely. I've got a couple of quotes that I came across from people, which I thought helped kind of articulate this from different perspectives. Um, Peter Crone, a mind architect, one of my favorites, puts it as simply put, flow is the absence of thought. That is when you are just are in the present. And another one by Amber Lyon, she says, is flow state is when what you want and what life wants for you are in alignment. So, what I've come to realize is flow is that place where you are channeling your gifts, where things come with ease and time passes by, literally just dissolves. It's that balance between discipline and surrender. And there's this quote by and somebody I came across, it's unknown. And it says, quote, flow is the sweet spot where the symphony of imagination, consciousness, and identity come together in perfect harmony. It's the magical state where time seems to stand still and every action feels like a natural extension of who we are. In the flow state, our thoughts and actions seamlessly synchronize, bridging the world of imagination and the tangible reality that we inhabit. This is a transcendent experience. When we immerse ourselves in a task with unwavering focus and undivided attention, flow activates and our aspirations take a life of their own. In this state, we become vessels for our deepest desires, and results often exceed our wildest expectations. When we immerse ourselves in our tasks, we become vessels for our desires. So, flow, it happens when you stop trying to be who you think you should be and start honoring who you actually are. Because energy moves when you are authentic, when you follow what nourishes you, what lights you up, when you ultimately act on that joy without insisting on an outcome. Because anything that you have to put effort on, it drains you. But anything that comes from a place of alignment, it really does energize you. So I'll leave you with this. Some of these questions I came back to in the last week or so when I have been feeling a bit distant. And I hope that this helps you too to find your flow. What have I outgrown that I'm still holding on to? What am I aligning with that no longer supports who I'm becoming? What direction feels forced instead of fluid? What part of my life is asking to be rebalanced? Because remember, flow isn't something that you find once, it's actually something that you recalibrate to again and again and again. And every time you return to it, you return a little closer to yourself. As always, I use these episodes as reminders for myself, like mini guides that you can refer to whenever you need a check in with yourself or a moment of recalibration. So do feel free to save them and do share them with someone who might need to hear them. And please do share your comments and feedback too. It always helps me to know what resonates for you and what you would like to hear more of. See you on the next episode.